Country Crossroads Florist and Gift Shop in Marilla, New York is a locally owned and operated small business that has really done something a little different by offering a super well stocked New York State wine shop on premises. You can even combine the wine with a flower and gift delivery or just pop in and pick up a bottle or two. I recently had the opportunity to speak with the owner, Mary, about their history, their place in the community, and their very bright future as Marilla continues to be a prime example of a town that is smartly managing its growth and not losing the very thing that draws people to it in the process of that growth. How did it start?
Okay. Well, we opened in 2004, and I was a gift representative for a company out of Seattle, Washington, and I did that for 14 years as a local representative. And my daughter-in-law, who married my son the year prior, she is a graphic designer, and she went to Hickson School of Graphic Design,
Wow.
or Floral Design, in Ohio. And then she worked for a couple different florists in the area. And when she married my son, my husband said to me, how about if we combine your two, the gift shop and the flower shop, expertise, and open our own store? And I had gotten tired of traveling so much and and going to shows, because I had to go to New York and Atlanta and stuff, and it was just a hassle. So I said, it sounds like a plan. Let's try it. So we rented for 5 years, and in 2008 we decided to buy the property where we are now and to build our own building, which it just made a lot of sense. We needed more room, better way of loading, the vehicle and everything. So it's been 18 years that we've been in business. Yeah, and then a couple years ago we decided, because we had such a large gift shop, to take a third of that, and we had to build a wall and separate it, but it's all still part of our business. We still own it and run it and everything. A wine store, which features only New York State wine. It took us over a year to get the liquor license during the pandemic.
Sure.
It was quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a journey. My parents went through that with a tavern, and this is back in the 80s. And I remember my parents coming home, and they were just like, you could just see it written all over. They're just like, come on already,
Oh, I have stories. Yeah. It was, because nobody has ever done what we've done. Nobody has a flower shop, a gift shop, and a wine shop, just a wine shop. And that's all we can sell, a little bit of cider, but that's it.
Right.
Nobody has done that type of venture, and we wanted it to be a boutique kind of experience that people could kind of go through everything.
Sure.
But we had to put a separate door in for the wine store per law.
Then Carrie said, she's like, they made us put a wall up, and then she's pointed out the window, but we have that. So we can see through the other side.
Yeah, it was crazy. But, through the pandemic and everything, we made it happen. We stayed open. We worked. We did what we had to do within the legal, boundaries of the pandemic. So, it's been a good experience.
Yeah, and what a great idea. It's so crazy how, as an entrepreneur, you come up with these ideas and you're like, why? It's just like a duh moment, right? Like, it just makes sense. Like, flowers are generally something that you will send. I mean, let's be honest and real about this. I mean, men love to send women flowers, right? And you send flowers for occasions. And wine is a very romantic gesture. A lot of times it's a very celebratory drink. And so flowers are that too. I mean, they have, there's always obviously, like, you're mourning, people will send you flowers, but flowers are a very celebratory thing too, right? So it's such a wonderful way to like package it. And I'm sure, like, when somebody receives a bouquet of flowers and a bottle of wine, like, that just ramps that experience way up,
Yeah, it's very unique. In fact, the SLA asked me what we were trying to do there, and I said, all I want to do is sell New York State wine to New York State residents. It's not complicated. It's pretty simple, but nobody else had done it. But in all reality, there's not a lot of markup on wine, so you couldn't have an independent store of just wine. That wouldn't work.
Right.
But with the three different sections, it all works together.
Yeah, it's a beautiful synergy, and the building is so awesome. Like, when you want to just, like, if there was like a fireplace and a couch in there, you just want to go in and hang out.
Well, we do have a fireplace. Maybe you didn't notice it. It's in the wine store. There's a fireplace.
Yes,
a working fireplace. Yeah.
Right, but it's such a great design.
But also, yes. Well, with renting for 5 years, we were able to decide what we really needed, and Carrie and I did the layout and everything of the store, so we got exactly, what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
But, that being said, it's wonderful and we really enjoy it. But the main thing and the real premise, I believe, for our store, and all our employees know the same thing, it's very important to be kind to people and to be nice.
Right.
And this is what we truly, practice and project to people, that when they come in, they are treated respectfully and kindly, particularly, all the events of life, particularly funerals, you really have to be sensitive and caring and understanding and spend time and patience with a family.
Yeah,
And
I can't even.
this is what we do.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think about that. Like, so right now in this conversation, I haven't even thought about that for your shop, and I should have,
Yeah.
because one of my clients had some older clients on my older show had a flower shop, and I was in there. I needed to go in there to take some pictures or something, and there was somebody that had just lost like their mom, or I mean, it was just that's like I've been through a lot of loss, like anybody, and you'd
Right.
forget that that's part of your job. That's part of your experience, is dealing with people that are in grief and they've just had a sudden loss, and you've got to really just kind of engage them in the most gentle way and caring and empathetic way you can, regardless of the day that you've
Exactly.
had or anything. These people are have had a really traumatic life event, and they're trying to work through
Right.
it, and they've given you, that's a lot of trust too. When you think about what an important
Mm-hmm.
moment in somebody's life, they're trying to honor someone that they've lost, and they want to make sure that they do it right. And this is something that people love to do in those moments, but it's still got to be really hard for you too, right? I mean, because it touches
it
you.
really can be.
Yeah.
It can be very draining on you.
Sure.
Particularly when I've had to do funerals for like classmates of mine that have passed away.
That's tough.
It's tough. I mean, it's hard, but I wouldn't want anyone else doing it. I need to do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we need to put our personal touch on it, and we do our arrangements, everything with love and care for these people.
Sure.
And I think that's so important. And if we couldn't do that, if I was in like a big corporation or a large, really large flower shop where there's many designers, and you lose control of that, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to just mass produce everything and push it out the door.
Well, because it's a
That's not
beautiful
us.
thing, right? I got a tutorial from a client who runs a flower shop in Rotondawanda, and just to watch her work, and she does the same thing, and it's just
Mhm.
like your guys are like spiders with like these beautiful colors and the beautiful and just to make that happen out of nothing, but these flowers that are in your shop, and all of a sudden, before you know it, there's
Mhm.
this beautiful mix of it's painting, really, right? It's
Mhm.
like three-dimensional painting, and you're trying to express an emotion through a visual
Mhm.
communicative medium that doesn't have a word, so it's very
Right.
like beautiful and ambiguous, and it's I think you either have the talent for it or you don't. I don't even know, can you teach it?
Well, you can. You can teach the basics. You certainly can. And we have, taught, a couple other girls. But you also have to have a basic eye
Hmm.
also, for it. And like Carrie, my daughter-in-law,
Hmm.
she truly is an artist. She can draw. I mean, I don't know if you noticed the door to our wine shop, all the design on the
Oh, she
door.
did that.
She drew all that
Oh my gosh.
freehand.
Yeah, I totally noticed that, but I mean,
Mhm.
you don't think that
Yeah.
like somebody there did that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Carrie's that talented. She really, really is.
My gosh, you should do like
So,
a line of like paintings or draw. I mean, she's probably an amazing like graphic artist, So she
she
could,
is.
um,
She really is.
so the gifts were first, right? And then and it was a flower shop, and you guys worked there. So that's what we're looking at, right? And you guys worked there.
No, actually, no. We set it up as a gift shop and a flower shop right from the beginning. It was both.
Oh, okay. So that was part of the deal. But your gifts there are
Part of the
unlike a
deal.
lot of flower shops, though. Do you know what I mean? Because you have this
True.
beautiful
Well, see,
country like bent to it.
when I was a rep for this company called Pacific Rim,
Hmm.
I would go into a lot of garden centers and flower shops, and I always thought if I ever owned my own store, I would never have glass shelves with silk flower arrangements.
Right.
That was not going to happen. So, and I spent a lot of time, obviously 14 years I was with them, a lot of time in Atlanta going into different showrooms and
Wow.
exposure to a lot of the products.
Sure.
So I kind of knew what I liked and what, I didn't like. And so I kind of drew upon all of that when we put the store together. It has evolved. You actually add different things and drop different things
Right.
too, as you go along. But yeah, we wanted something unique. We wanted something different, that you don't walk into a typical flower shop and see what you see at our store. It's true.
And then, so when you guys designed it, because I noticed it when I was taking pictures there, I went around the back, and it's funny because I didn't know that you guys designed that building. And when I walked around back, I was like, man, this place is set up. But that's why it's set up, because you set it up to be that functional. It totally works, right? You have that back door near the, where you can pull up and load in and load out. It's not like
Exactly.
you didn't take an old building and like customize it. You just built this for that function,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Where we rented before, initially the 5 years, we had to load outside, and we decided we needed to have a garage where we could load the flowers, and we deliver our own. There's a group out there called Pool, where you take your arrangements and then different people deliver, for you, different flower shops. It's called Pool. We have always chosen not to be part of that, because we make our designs. We want to put them in the truck. We want to take them to the delivery spot where they go and be in total control. I don't want to lose control to somebody else, some other driver delivering our piece.
Isn't that funny? So you are, not only are you like a total DIYer, but you're obviously an entrepreneur, but you have that thing. And I think all of us, I'm the same way with my show. Like, it's a one-man show here, right? For everything. And it's not that I'm a control freak. It's just that every time I've tried to hire people, they drop the ball. So, and I'm like, if you're dropping the ball, I've invested in, just like you and just like any other entrepreneur and small business owner, you invested your entire life into this. This isn't just a job for you. And so if somebody makes a mistake that affects, let's even say that it's a friend, a high school friend of yours who passes, and they screw up the arrangement, they screw up the delivery, like, that's a one-time thing. You'll never get that moment back. And as much as they could forgive you for it, because they know it might not have been your fault, or B, accidents happen, but that's something that was beyond your control, that you're like, oh, if I could have just been there, right? This wouldn't have happened. So we all kind of feel that way, I think, as business owners, that at some point, because everybody, I think you probably get this too. Like, people are like, oh, you work too much, or you do too much, and and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Right? It's like, what's the option? The option is sometimes not a good option. So it's just easier to do it yourself. And I love that about your business. And every time I go in there, I mean, you talk about kindness, and you talk about the girls behind the, whether it was Carrie or the other girl that I met there, even you. I mean, there's a certain sensibility. And I've been in there when you guys have been with other customers, and the conversations that you have with them are awesome. I mean, it's really like, you're not being disingenuous. There's a real sense of, like, care with each customer that comes through your shop. And that's why you have the business you have, right? I mean,
right, exactly. Well, and like I've always said, you have to find what you love to do, and then you won't work. I mean, it's not a job.
But that's what people don't understand, right? That's the thing, because they work a job that they hate. And so you're working 50, 60 hours a week, and they're like, how could you, you got to take some time out. And you're like, I love what I do. So it's not, I mean, all work is work at some point, yes. But I don't ever feel like I'm working in the sense like I was working at my parents' restaurant, even though I loved the restaurant, but, 7 days a week for your existence. And I work 7 days a week here, but there's a lot more like pace to it, where the restaurant, you just get well, you probably get that too in your shop, right? There's days where you just get crushed. Right.
Well, we just came off of Mother's Day week, and it was great. It was just so intense, so busy, which is good. We were happy for that. But then now this week, the last couple days, we've been able to kind of get our heads back,
take a breath
straight, and you take a breath. Exactly. You have to do that. You have to step back and kind of refresh and regroup, and you do.
And that's the beauty of owning your own business too, right? Because you can say, okay, I can just take a moment.
Yeah, but the thing is, Anthony, everybody answers to someone. Everybody says, oh, isn't it great to own your own business?
Well, we answer to the customers, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, I have a boss. That's all the our customers.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
you're my
are my
boss.
boss.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what we're doing here,
Yeah.
I mean, you're my boss, right? And I always look at it like that, right? Without you, I wouldn't have a
Right.
business, right? And then without your customers in that
Exactly.
door, you wouldn't have a business. So it's very cyclical,
Exactly.
very
Exactly.
reciprocal as well. So it's just the
Right.
nature of business. And I think you just, well, because you were in the service and sales for how long? Like 20 some years, right? And so
Right.
you were dealing
Right.
with that on a day to day basis as it was, and you just took that love and care and put it on your shoulders, in that way.
Mhm.
It said, I'm going to do this
Right.
for my family and do this for my community, and we'll
Right.
take it from there. So did you have like a paradigm shift in your thinking when you said you were out on the road and you just kind of were getting really burnt out and you're just like, man, I just want my own place? Or
No, not necessarily. It was my husband's idea. He came up with it. My mother had a flower shop when I was a teenager, and so I was kind of used to the business and everything. But I wanted to go to college, so that was
Mhm.
the end of that. But no, it was actually his idea
Yeah, because
to do
you just
something
said, yeah,
different.
he wanted to combine all, right, those two things,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and
yeah.
put them in
And
place.
I mean, I was born and raised in this town. Went to the school Iroquois. My son went there.
Hmm.
My daughter-in-law went there. My grandkids went there. I mean, we've been in this community forever, and my grandparents grew up here.
Wow.
So it's very very deep roots, very very deep roots. So when we built our store, I've had people come in and say, "Why would you put such a beautiful place, a store, in the middle of nowhere?" And
Oh,
I just look
gee.
at him and I say, well, because we live
This
out
is
here
my
in the middle of
home.
nowhere. Yeah, exactly. And it was so beneficial with the children, my grandchildren, growing up, being able to be at the store. We were close to school. It made it so easy for Carrie to take care of them and everything.
Right.
So it was the right thing to do. We could have, obviously been in Lancaster, Williamsville,
Hmm.
a lot more people around, but we made it happen. We just worked with it, and like 75% of our business is over the phone.
Wow. But it works for you,
So,
right? I mean, the whole thing,
and it does,
it's working.
and
But
it does.
but you did what any good entrepreneur does. You followed your gut, you followed your heart, you followed your intuition, right? And
Yeah,
and it led you
yeah,
to the right place. And I think it always does. And
yeah.
even in the face of that, like if you took if you took an official poll when you were starting the business and you asked people, you wouldn't be there, right?
Right.
So
Oh, I had people when we first opened, like, oh, do you think you can make it? Why are you? I had a very good friend. He says, why are you doing this, Mary? Do you really want to do this?
oh my God.
And I'm like, yeah, we're going to give it a shot. We're going to give it
Yeah,
a
you're like,
try.
thanks for your support. you know, I
There you
know. Well, we all get
go.
it. I think the crazier the idea, and that was, I look, where you are, but it works, and that now you're
Yeah,
starting to see like everybody's kind of moving out in your direction slowly.
right, right,
So
right. We have customers come from Orchard Park only because they love our flowers,
well,
and they drive
there you
all the
go.
way from Orchard Park
Well, yeah, but
to see us.
but that's why I do my show. People love taking little destination drives like that.
Right,
You know.
right, exactly.
I,
And now we have, the other businesses in town, which are a draw, which,
yep.
Bring people. So that's a real positive, too.
Yeah, and that's like exactly that small town Western New York. That's why I do my show. Like you can go there, you can spend a day, and you can go get something to
Right,
eat at Julie's Diner. Then you can go over to see Sandy at the shop. It's been there for 170
right,
years. You can get some stuff. You can go out and get a bottle of wine, a little gift.
right,
It makes a really enjoyable day trip for people, and I can see why people come from miles around to come to your shop. It's really in your product selection in the shop is very different than any. It's more
mm-hmm,
of a curated store than a flower shop. Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like it has
mm-hmm.
that sense. Like as a guy, like I was looking around there, and you got a lot of cool stuff in there. Even for like
Thank
guys.
you.
So,
Yeah.
which a lot of flower shops don't. It's almost like and I don't mean any disrespect to any other flower shops, but it seems.
Mhm.
And I'll say this so you don't have to, but it seems like a lot of times they're just picking stuff out of a catalog,
Right,
on the shelves. And
right,
you're like, you'll go in there, and I've done that too, whether it was a girlfriend or my family, you go in and you're buying flowers, but maybe you want a gift too, but you're looking around and you're like, this is just like generic stuff I could buy anywhere. But your shop has a very different product selection, and you curated it right down to the way, like when you walk in, there's nothing better than that synergistic balance of a business looking like it feels, and then the product selection just backs all that up, right? Because you have this
Well, the
beautiful.
good thing is, I have a certain style and items that I like look, and Carrie has one also, and we're totally different. So it works out really well because she likes certain things and I like certain things, and it just blends.
Yeah.
I mean, if we both like the same things, it would be so generic and so bland,
Yeah, but
Whereas
but it's working. Whatever's there is working. In the wine shop, when I walked in, so I didn't know there was a wine shop there because I thought so I will drive around to town and I'll look for really cool businesses. And one of my criteria is that you should be a business that people can make the day trip to or make the destination trip to and purchase something little and enjoy the store. And the store kind of becomes its own little trip in and of itself, right? And so we kind of tip you off to that. So I walked in and I didn't realize you had the wine. And Carrie was like so excited about that. She's like, "Oh, you got to come over here." And she didn't know that we had done in my previous show this whole series of shows on the wineries down 20. And I told you when I met you, that was like one of my mantras. I was like, man, somebody's got to put a little shop together with all these. And then you guys were already there doing that.
Right. Well, the cool thing is we have a tasting tomorrow even with two of the wineries we haven't done tastings with before from Fredonia area, Chautauqua area. So that's pretty cool.
Oh,
New
who is it?
exposure,
Yeah.
Maza Winery and 21 Bricks.
Oh, yeah, we did both of those actually on the series. If you go to my website, you'll see I put some of the Discovering Western New York shows on the Small Town Western New York player. It's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, they're great guys too, actually. And the wine is excellent.
Right.
That's cool. So are you guys now how are you gonna do that? So you have your shop on the left side if you're facing your building. Do you put some tables outside, weather permitting, and then do that way? Or
well, we have that metal gazebo. You probably noticed that.
Yes.
Gazebo in front. That's where we do the tastings.
Oh, cool.
We have a vinyl sheet that we put up that has graphics on about wine tasting. It's really pretty. Again, Carrie designed it, and that goes up to block the wind. And they'll set their tables up with their chairs, and then either the distributor or the winery will come and do their tasting outside. And there's no charge for the tasting; they're free tastings.
Oh, that's
great.
And
then people come in and pick out their wine.
See, and that's a real destination, right? That's super fun. To come out on a Friday night, taste some wines that you've never had, meet the people and I love that with these wine tastings, you get to meet the people who make the wine.
Right.
I mean, that's a big deal.
In some sense you do. A lot of times there are distributors that will do the tasting, but the one in particular, well, they're both very nice gentlemen, but the one in particular is really good and knows his product really, really well. And I mean, he just loves coming and doing them. And
is that 21 Bricks? Is that?
No, actually, it's Opishi Distributing.
Oh, you mean the distributor?
And they carry, a distributor who carries different wines, mainly from Seneca Lake area.
I see.
No, there's a person that represents 21 Bricks and Maza. He's coming with his wife tomorrow to do the tasting.
That's cool.
So I'm sure he knows all about the wine and the different grapes and the process and everything.
Well, that's part of it, and that's what I meant. Yeah, it's just that you want to when you go to taste it, it's so interesting. And I didn't get into wine until I was out in California, honestly. And I'm sure you guys do this because it's part of your business now too. Like it's an amazing subsection of the food industry that is kind of organically grown in this country, and people are starting to develop a real appreciation for it. I mean, it's a huge market, and it's a very complex market. And once you get into it, it's like a rabbit hole. It's like it's just such depth. So now, what was the inspiration behind that, though? I mean, was it just that you guys came up with it? You were like, man, it would be great if we could put something with these flowers other than gifts?
We had that large gift shop, and quite honestly, with Home Goods and Wayfair and people buying online, we wanted to find something different and be unique. So we took a third of the shop and decreased our inventory. We used to have clothing like capes and scarves and
Okay.
purses and all that stuff, and we eliminated all that. And we said, well, why don't we? Carrie said something like, well, why don't we do wine or liquor? And I said, well, why don't we just do New York State wine? There's so many wineries and so much good wine in this area. Why don't we just feature New York State?
Right.
So we agreed on that, and yeah, it was kind of
And lo and behold.
evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just kind of looked into it, and honestly, because we had been in business for quite a while, we kind of knew that this is going to not be an easy road to go. I mean, I sent in 50 pages to the SLA.
Oh, jeez.
We got back a response that they needed. There was 12 discrepancies that we had to straighten out with them.
Okay.
Which we did. And it took over a year.
Yeah.
To get the liquor license. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, would have gotten discouraged and said, "Oh, forget it! I'll just go to a catalog and buy some more gifts."
Yeah, sometimes I think they just do that. Like it's like the willingness of the the person that's applying, like how bad do you want this? Because it is a big responsibility in a way to do that, and they know that. And I don't know. I mean, it's a bureaucratic red tape thing too, but sometimes I wonder, just like who wants this the most?
It's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, you might be right on that.
So
there's so many people that think it'll be fun to open, a bar and a restaurant kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a big responsibility, So, but what a great idea! I mean, it was just like when Carrie took me on the other side, I was like, man, I think there's even because I did the same type of thing with Discovering Western New York with these longer interviews, and I'm sure I at least brought it up a couple times because it just makes sense, right? You have this cottage industry here, but nobody's pulling it together in a way that where you can just go. I mean, yeah, we have the larger liquor stores and they have the made in New York areas, but it's not the same.
No,
because that's in the context of all this other stuff. But when you walk in there, like that side that you have, like I'm Carrie was like, oh, it's a little small. I was like, there's a lot in there, and it doesn't really feel super crowded. But you guys did a really great representation of the wines that are based in New York. So
yeah, we've got about at least 37 wineries there now.
Wow, that's fantastic. And they must be like happy that you're doing. I mean, I'm sure you're getting support from them, right? I mean, nobody's like,
oh my gosh, they're so grateful. They really are. Just the awareness, when I put it on Facebook, just to remind people, New York State wines. You go to the big liquor stores and you're lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a deer in headlights. Where do you look? What do you
exactly.
want? Kind of thing. It's hard. Yeah, I know. It's so confusing. Whereas we try and make it simple and ask people what you like, what's your taste, or what kind of gift are you buying.
Sure.
And a lot of times they'll just tell us what they want, and we just pick out what they, for their orders.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Well, and I don't think there's anything out there like you at all. Like not even just with the New York wines. I don't think you can go get a bottle of wine really anywhere around where you are. So you must be drawing something from the local area. I mean, that's a great, we're getting into summer now, and it's just nothing better than wine is kind of like that type of thing where you finish dinner, you're like, man, I could really go for a glass of wine, right? But where are you gonna go? You got to drive into Orchard Park and go to one of the big chains, but you're right there. So, and honestly, Lancaster is really close to you guys. I mean, you guys are right at the at the doorstep of all these other towns too that have now had this like suburban sprawl spree, so to speak, over the last like 10 years or so. So you have a good population base around there that would be just ripe for just even coming to the wines for you. You're a destination just solely for that, I think, at this point. So, and Carrie was telling me you guys have the property behind there. So in the future, you guys are thinking about possibly expanding into some events type of things too. Is that correct?
Yes, we're hoping to do that. Yes, we, she has some ideas and some vision about what they'd like to do. Honestly, my husband and I are, a little bit older. So my feeling is I'm 100% supportive of what they want to do back there, but and I will help them in any way. But I kind of want them to take the reins on that and make it happen and it be their doing kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you got it going up to this point, and let them kind of roll it out.
I mean, you have to know when to step back and let them take over, so to
Sure.
speak.
Sure.
You
Now,
know,
so
so
now,
mhm,
you said that you were, so you lived there your whole life then, right, Marilla?
mhm, mhm,
And so, have you seen what I love about Marilla is, and you can't stop growth to a degree. But what I love about
mhm,
Marilla is that it's still Marilla. It's the Marilla that I
mhm.
remember from when I was a kid. So we used to ride our bikes. I was telling Sandy this from the store. We used to go swimming at Northrop, and then we would go to the little shop there, and then we would get like a drink, and then we'd ride our bikes all the way out to Sandy's shop, and then we'd
Oh,
hang out there, and then we would go to that swimming
right,
hole because my dad went to that
right,
swimming hole down the street. So we would go to that. So we would do, and it was like a whole day trip for us, and we would do that quite often. And we would go pick up people along the way. By the time we got out to Sandy's, we'd be like 12 deep, and then we'd all go
right,
swimming at the swimming
right.
hole down the street from Sandy, and then we would all break for the day. But what I love about when I moved back home, I saw so much suburban sprawl around Buffalo, and I know that's an inevitability, but I love that Marilla really has still retained itself. And do you feel that sense that you're like
Mhm.
still part of something special and it's still the way it was when you were a kid?
Yes, to some degree, but you do have to have growth, and you do have to have businesses
But
to
smart growth, really, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It has to be controlled,
Yeah.
and I think the town board has done a good job with that. You're not going to see new subdivisions in our town, mainly because we don't have like a sewers out here, so that's a big problem.
Oh, right, right.
And years ago, and in fact, my husband was supervisor, I believe, at the time. They made the restrictions such that it would be really hard to put in the subdivision financially. Um, so, because the town did not want a lot of subdivisions, we didn't want to be a Lancaster, so to
Yes.
speak.
Right. And
So that's why you will see new homes. Obviously, if you drive around, there's
sure.
new homes on property and everything, but you don't see big subdivisions or anything.
And thank
And
God
that's
for
why.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, that was.
yeah, it's important, right? I mean, I see, and I agree with what you said too. And when I lived out in California, smart growth and what do they call it? Infill development,
Mhm,
which is
mhm,
so important. It's basically using what you have in the smartest way possible, in the most resourceful way
mhm,
possible. And that's all I was really
mhm,
saying is that, of course, you're always going to
mhm,
get growth, and growth is really important. Obviously, we have to
mhm,
grow as
mhm.
towns and
Right,
villages. But
right,
what we've seen in the last 50, 60 years, unencumbered growth really damages everything and everyone, and it doesn't really help anything. It just adds
right,
to, it just taxes everything.
right.
So, and I just love that Marilla is still Marilla, and you get that sense. It's kind of like, you get through the suburban sprawl, and the drive out there is just so great because you go through the suburban sprawl, and then you get out to this little country area, and then Marilla is kind of like the first doorstep into that, and
Mhm,
it's just a really beautiful place. And that's why I'm so excited to put
mhm,
these shows together because as much as everybody associates Marilla with Marilla Country Store, a lot of people, that's all they
mhm,
see, right?
mhm.
But,
Right, right.
take a drive
Exactly.
around there and
Yeah,
go exploring because it's a
yeah,
really beautiful
yeah.
place.
Right. It is. It's a very pretty town. Like I live on Four Rod Road,
Yeah.
um, at Williston, and we have a creek in our yard. In fact, I'm looking out at the creek right now,
Oh,
and
that's nice.
I mean, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful setting, and it is. It's a beautiful town.
Yeah.
And like you say, they have maintained the town board and the everyone that's been in office has maintained the integrity of what it was and what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
and more power to
so
them,
yeah,
and because it's not
yeah,
easy, because
exactly.
as well as I do, you probably know way more than I would, but people show up with big money and they have big ideas, and a lot of times they don't have the best intentions other than to make money. And it
Mhm,
seems so far Marilla's been really good at just making sure that it's retained its integrity, as a
mhm,
place. And it's great for you. You grew up there, your kids grew up there, your grandkids kids are there. So it really makes sense that you want to see that place just kind of maintain itself, grow in the right way, right? But keep that
right,
sense of
right.
place and
Mhm.
integrity intact. So for your business, what can we touch on that we haven't touched on already for you?
Oh goodness. I think we've touched on everything.
Awesome.
We've talked about our employees. We've talked about our delivery system.
Yes.
Um, yeah, taking orders over the phone and everything. And yeah, I can't think of
Very good.
anything that we've missed.
Good. Yeah, well, you're awesome to talk to. Super easy to talk to too, which is great.
Well, thank you.
And you have
Thank
such a
you.
great business. I mean, like I said, I drive around. That's my first, first day where I'm really thinking about, okay, who can only have three businesses, four businesses tops. Like, who would it be? And
Right.
right away, like as
Right.
soon as I saw it, I was like, you just get a feel for it. After I've been doing this for a long time, and I drove in, and I was like, what a cool looking place. You know, it just doesn't look like your
Yeah.
typical flower shop, and the building itself
Yeah.
looks like something that you'd want to build, in the woods somewhere. And when you
I know
walk,
people have said that they'd like to live there.
yeah, it's got the feel to it. Well, because
Yeah.
you did that
Yeah.
the interior too. Like you don't get that a lot of times. You get this like beautiful exterior like you have, but you walk in and then it turns into a modern building. And you guys like whatever you did there with the woodwork and stuff, it just really feels like you're in this cabin in the woods, and that was your intention, and it worked. So
I have to tell you, we built that store. We had a contractor do it, but all that wood you see on the inside was brought into at my house here and dropped in our driveway. And I looked out at it and I said, "What the heck have we done?"
my God.
So Nathan and Carrie and the grandkids, we shiplapped all that wood and we stained all that wood
Oh wow.
here at the house. Yeah.
Piece
So
by
it was
piece.
truly yeah, piece by piece. Yep. Yep.
That's
So.
cool though. What a night. How old are your grandkids now?
Well, actually, Cheyenne is 17 and Bo is 15.
Oh wow. So and they probably have really good memories of that too, I'm sure. Right?
Oh, they do. I mean, oh my goodness, we had a toy room, and Nathan, my son, built bunk beds in there so they could take their naps and everything. We opened the store in March,
Hmm.
and Cheyenne was born in December
Oh wow.
of that year, of the same year. Hmm.
Gosh. So she
Yeah.
grew up with it.
So she grew up with it.
Yeah.
And then Bo was born. Bo was born with a diaphragmatic hernia,
Oh jeez.
and I don't know if you're familiar with
No,
that,
not
but
at
anyway,
all. What?
his organs were up next to his heart.
Oh
He had a
no.
15% chance of survival.
So,
It was very horrible. He was in 4 months in the NIC unit at Children's Hospital.
oh, I can't even imagine. So they
It
straightened
was
him out
it
though?
was horrible. Yes, yes. Dr. Glick put a diaphragm in his body, pushed all his organs down. We didn't even know if his second lung was even there.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, but he's 15 now. He looks like a normal kid. He's a good kid. He's a good student. I mean, he golfs. He's
How awesome
taking
is
up
that?
bass fishing. I know. He's a miracle. He truly is. The Lord has blessed us.
Isn't
There's
it
no
crazy?
doubt
I mean,
about
it's
it.
really just crazy, right? And there's a lot to
Yeah.
that because that's not just like the medical. That's like a lot of other stuff going on when that type of situation arises. The medical.
Yes.
I totally agree with you. Like it's about faith, and you're like you got
Right.
through it, and
Yeah.
there's something that
Yeah.
touched you guys and made that happen for you.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic, man. I can't even imagine. I don't have kids, but I always say I don't even know if I'm the right type of person for kids because I don't know if I can handle that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it tests your constitution in ways you just probably don't even realize.
Well,
you know.
honestly, Carrie's doctor told her she should
Ugh.
have an abortion, and they talked about it, and they just did not want to do that.
Ugh.
They wanted to have this baby
Sure.
and see this through, and not knowing what was going to happen. And her gynecologist, I believe in my heart that he did not think Bo was even going to survive the delivery.
Oh my gosh.
He was that bad.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
truly a miracle.
Yeah, and you know what's
Truly.
amazing now is that you can, when you think about that, and now you're like this many years on, and he's older now, and you
Yeah.
can talk to him, and he's just awesome, and he's in good shape. It's just really cool.
Yeah,
To,
he's a normal kid.
yeah, that's one of
Yeah.
those things that always, puts life into perspective. And any given day,
Yeah.
right? You're like, look what he went through.
Right.
Right, as a little baby,
Exactly.
I can't
Yeah.
even imagine. I've been through a lot physically
Yeah.
with like medical stuff, and you
Uh-huh.
sometimes think when you see little kids, you're like, how, right? Because I had a normal childhood, I was healthy. I can't even imagine going through
Mhm.
something like that as a little baby and a kid and all the operations. And then, there's probably secondary things that were going on with him, and that's great, man. Good
Yeah.
for you guys. That's what it's all about,
Yeah.
right? You get
Yeah,
through, get
yeah,
by, and now you got a
exactly.
healthy, happy family and
Yeah.
a great business. And I'm sure Carrie's
Yeah.
gonna, her and her husband will take. She was honestly, when she was telling me about all the stuff she had planned, you could see she just lit up, and that's a really
Yeah.
cool thing that she was that
I know,
excited.
isn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
I'm excited for them too, and I hope I do live long enough to see all this and everything and be part of it.
I'm
Um,
sure you will. You know.
so yeah, you just kind of keep going with it, and I'm just so glad that they do have plans and want to expand and have events there and everything. It'll be so cool.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
well, and think about like what that'll add to the town, right? Because now you've already
Right.
provided this
Right.
beautiful. It's so, and that's what's cool about the wine. I think because I know you have to give the gift shop, but having the wine there gives it's a total secondary business where people will just go to you. Like me, like I would go there just to get some wine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Right.
becomes its own entity. But then when you start adding events there, now
Right.
you've got.
Right.
Just now you've got another aspect to the community that adds a
Mm-hmm.
quality of life, and people
Mm-hmm.
people will look forward to that, and it'll become a tradition you know
Mm-hmm.
and I
Right.
think that's kind of what
Right.
it is out there. People love where they live. They like, if they work in the city, they like that drive out to Marilla, and they like
Mm-hmm.
coming home because it's peaceful and it's beautiful. And then to be able to stay in your community and enjoy something social just adds to that so much. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so she did.
Right.
She was super excited, and I was like, man, that you could just
Uh,
tell, like, she's just going to take that and she's going to run with it. And she was really inspired when she was talking to me. And I was like, she's an awesome person,
mhm. Mhm.
So,
Oh, she is.
yeah, yeah,
She
you've
is.
got a good
I think
family
the
there,
world
man.
of
Yeah,
Mary. Yeah, we
awesome.
do. We
Um,
really do.
yeah, if there, so now one quick thing too. So when somebody will call and they'll order the wine and the flour, is there an additional charge on the delivery, or is that like, it's just
No,
basically just buy the bottle and it's included in the flowers? There's no anything additional.
correct. Correct. And sometimes we actually put the wine in a basket and then put flowers around it
Oh,
and do
that's
a little
cool.
vignette. Yeah. And then sometimes they want it in one of our gift bags with the arrangement in a vase or something.
Mhm.
So no, there's no extra charge for the wine. We have to get signatures and proof people, of
Right.
course.
Right, right.
When it's delivered and everything. But our delivery is by the town as to how much you are charged. People in Orchard Park are going to pay more for a delivery than people in Marilla, obviously.
Gotcha.
It goes by how far away you are and everything. So,
Okay. Right. And
yeah.
it's so cool
Yeah.
that you guys do the delivery. Really. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
that's got to be a rare thing now in this industry for you, right? I mean, that's not an everyday flower shop, like, where you get the person who either created it or at least somebody who owns it or is involved in the business hand delivering it to you. Usually I always thought it was just like a secondary FTD. They come pick it up, or there's some guy that loads up the van in the morning. It's just a different thing. It's just great customer service.
Well, there is. Anthony, you're right. It's called pool, where a flower shop would load up their deliveries for the day, go into Buffalo, and then they divide it up. And like I would take all of the Marilla, Alden, flower shops from the work from other flower shops and deliver it out here.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we don't do that.
No, it's
Yeah,
not
we
the
don't
same.
do that.
Yeah.
No, exactly. When we load our truck, and they usually leave around 11:30. It has all our deliveries, and sometimes we go to Orchard Park and Clarence
Right.
in the same day, in Attica.
Wow.
I mean, that's just the way we do it. We want control of our product.
Yeah. Well,
So that's how we do it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And that's why you got a great business, and that's why you'll continue to have a great business. And instilling that into, I'm sure Carrie was like that anyways, but just having somebody there who you're just like, this is the way we do it, because that's the way it will continue to be done after you're gone through the business.
Right.
So, and
Right.
that is becoming
Right.
so rare, and it's becoming more and more important. And I think we're seeing a resurgence in a lot of ways and through all industries, because we've become so desensitized and everything's been so commoditized that we're just like I hate to use another eyes, but we're Stepfordized into this like zombie, like you just press a button, it shows up at my house, but it's flowers. It's like
Right.
food, right? It's a personal experience, and a lot of times you are the topping on an event in somebody's life. You're accentuating this moment, whether it's good or traumatic or bad, and you're in a healing position.
Mhm.
And you're in a position to celebrate. and even through something as sad as a death, where you're really trying to celebrate that person's life, so
Right.
there's always a great
Right.
aspect to what you do, and just having that extra touch, that personability of somebody that's involved in the business, hand delivering it, and that trust. And I always say, like, it's like flowers are like getting a haircut. It's like once you found your person and you found your shop,
Right.
you don't even think about it anymore. Yeah,
Right.
right.
Exactly.
So you're
Yeah.
just like, that's your guy or
True.
that's your girl, and you just go to them and you
Yeah.
don't think about it,
Exactly.
you know. So you're like,
Exactly.
call Mary, and you just know. You're like, okay, I
Yeah.
gotta call Mary. I
Yeah.
gotta call Carrie. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it for this episode of the Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember to support the small towns of Western New York in any way you can. They're full of great businesses and people who'd love to see you in their towns. The Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast, the TV series, is a presentation of Discovering Western New York and A.A. Augustine Media Co. and can be found everywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for listening.